Welcome back to Bull Droppings, everybody. I'm Josh McSwain here with my co-host AJ Torres, and today we are going to be giving you our thoughts on the week that was. Well, not for long because I think we told you so on that one. Going to be looking ahead to week 8 a little bit.
Unfortunately,
I'm not sure how much different things are going to look in week 8 as compared to week 7. Let's just be real now. And then we're going to get into the trade deadline stuff. Yeah, that's more interesting. Let's be honest.
Agreed.
So, yeah, we're going to jump back to week 7 just for a minute here. It was a blowout like everybody expected. We had a 5-0 lead. Yeah, for like a minute or two. Just after
we didn't
that,
even
the
think it would
Cardinals
get that,
took
honestly.
over.
I mean, it's like after like mid through the second quarter, it's like I didn't even think the first quarter was going to be interesting. I just thought that this was going to be a blowout and just like a shake your head all game long. But there was a time where it's just kind of like, hey, Cardinals, are you okay? This shouldn't be happening right now.
No, it did not. But yeah, you look at the overall numbers from this game, the offense was dismal. David Johnson led with 25 yards on the ground, 7 carries. Davis Mills, 23 of 32 for 135 yards. And, well, DeAndre Hopkins caught a touchdown pass in the game. I don't think anybody's surprised, but he actually was not the leading receiver. Leading receiver was newly acquired Zach Ertz, who had 66 yards. So this was not, quite as bad as the Bills game, though that's not saying a whole heck of a lot. I'm just saying it could have been a lot worse than it was. You're just looking at the gap of talent that existed between these two teams. And you look at Brandon Cooks. He had 5 catches for 21 yards. So if you're playing in a PPR league with him, he's still paying off a little bit for you.
For a late draft
Nico
pick,
Collins
absolutely.
led with 28 receiving yards. It's good to see him back in action. The fact he led the team, that's somewhat of a positive, I guess. I guess with his 22-yard reception, it shows that he might be able to make some plays, but obviously this team is just so discombobulated right now.
Yep.
They're just trying to get something together and just like testing a lot of guys. So many guys are just trying to show what they got. That's the bottom line, and we all kind of knew this going in.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this was a hard battle. And I mean, if you think about it, just Arizona defense, it's better than what was last year. There's concerns about the offensive line, but sure enough, this defense isn't going to know how to handle anything. I mean, Lonnie Johnson had that interception, but still, you don't think of Lonnie Johnson getting that pick and him actually having a really good game, leading the team in tackles as well. We had DeMarcus Walker get a sack, 2 tackles for loss. We had a Grenard with 3 tackles, 2 sacks. But at the same time, you look at the scoreboard, you look at the offense, and unfortunately, players like that just don't get the justice. It's terrible to me. It really is. What's the highlight of the game? Those sacks, Fairbairn getting a 53-yard field goal, the punter averaging 49.1 yards a punt, long of 69 with 2 inside the 20. The fact that those are our important players of the game, it's sad.
Sure is. Yeah, Johnston's getting quite a bit of practice this year. Let's be fair on that one. But yeah, Grenard, I've been impressed with his play so far this year. I think he's been pretty good. He's got 6 sacks so far. The 24-year-old out of Florida, I think he has carved himself a spot on this team for a long time.
Well, we'll see, because when we say long time, just remember, you need to be a good franchise in order to keep your guy for a long time. That's not saying, hey, the money, that's not saying his personal. Just remember, you got to be a good organization, and you're going to have to treat your guys well. And from what I'm hearing, that's probably not the case right now. We got to hold off on that. Is he going to be a good player? Yeah. But will he be here for a long time? That I highly doubt right now with everything going on. I hate to say it, but I think you and I could agree by saying we came into this year of Texans talk, then going into bull dropping, saying we are going into a podcast series of an absolute friggin' circus.
Yeah, circus might be putting it lightly, but I
Well,
feel
what
what
other
you're
word
getting
could
at
we
there.
use with it being, well, PG-13? And there's a lot of times where I've had to go with a not safe for work rant, but I've said my piece to you off camera.
Right. Well, while we're camping out on this game, I guess we can address the J.J. Watt situation. Obviously, former Texan legend. Well, I guess he always will be, even though he's not currently in Battle Red and Steel Blue. But yeah, he had another shoulder injury. It's going to sideline him for the rest of the year. I was hoping he might be part of a glorious run with the Cardinals this year, and, well, it's not happening anymore.
You know, if by any chance the Cardinals do win it all, he does deserve that ring just like everybody else. Because if you look
Oh,
at
yeah, he'd get it.
some, if you look at some of the guys that just go into an organization, and that's why Mark Ingram came into this establishment, which we'll get to him later in the show. But if you
Mm-hmm.
just look at JJ, where he's just nails, and there's not too many guys that work harder than JJ Watt. I think he overworks himself. And the fact that there's now a concern with JJ, this is injury number what now? And
3. I think it might be the third time where he's been out for the season because of an injury.
well, just injuries in general may not sideline for good, but it's
Well, no,
starting
just
to,
for the rest of the season.
yeah. There's just been too many injuries to that guy. And after this year, it's like, hey, you're going to have your number if, well, it's kind of like a mutual thing. And he may deny it based on what is going on. But is there a chance that he may hang it up? Or do you think he's going to want to try and redeem himself and keep going the 17 weeks plus?
You know, that's a really good question.
I mean, if the Cardinals win it all this year, and I mean, I understand it's a big if, but it's like you were a part of that team. You coach those new guys that need identity, like Isaiah Simmons, those new guys that are on the defensive front seven. You are a big part of that unit, and what you bring to an organization is what many players. I mean, let's just be real. At the defensive front position, JJ Watt will forget things that many players will never know. If he wins that ring and he retires, I mean, my heart goes out to him. It really does.
Well, if he does that, at least he goes out on top. I don't think anybody would mind that, because around the league, he's obviously known as one of the really great guys. And
Absolutely.
it's just, I think a lot of people were rooting for him. But if you are going to look at his current contract right here, yeah, it looks like,
He could still retire and just not take the money.
yeah, that's obviously true. Looked like his deal with the Cardinals was for 2 years, and he'll be a free agent after the 2022 season. So I guess I was just thinking, yeah, about that whole ring thing. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to just bolt away from Arizona immediately, unless they were to cut him, which I doubt they would because there'd be a lot of dead cap in that scenario.
Yeah.
So, if he doesn't win with the Cardinals this year or next, he potentially could bounce somewhere else. He'd be 34 years old at that point. And yeah, nobody knows what he would be able to bring at that point. So, to answer your question in somewhat of a roundabout way, I do feel like if he gets that ring, maybe he does hang it up. There's obviously a lot more opportunities for him after football. He could, be a businessman or philanthropist. Does a lot of great work anyway. So,
Could you imagine him being a coach? Because I can.
you
Not
know,
saying head coach, just the coach. Could you imagine him for some team as in like, hey, JJ, how would you like to work with the defensive coordinator and be the defensive lineman coach? As in, hey, your defensive line or defensive ends, you're gonna go back in the room in a new role with a new team. Not sure what team that would be, but I think he could easily work himself up the ranks and be a defensive coordinator one day. But of course, he could do what he wants.
that's all very true. The thing about it is, great players don't always make great coaches. Obviously, coaching has so many facets to it. You obviously got to have knowledge, but you also got to be able to relate to your guys. And, only so many guys do that. Because, I would never see Peyton Manning being a head coach, despite the fact he knows the game better than just about anybody. Just because Peyton seems like, for all of his skill and all of his brains, he's just like on a whole nother level, and you just don't know how well he could work with just, the average players. Definitely
Correct.
not with the United Way kids, if you remember that SNL skit. Spend time with your kids so Peyton Manning doesn't.
Well, what gets me right is you have to relate to the players, and I think there's a lot of guys that are already so skilled. It's like, hey guys, I could do this in my sleep. What's going on? I don't understand. It's like you gotta relate to what they got. They don't have the same skill set, the genetic gifts that you do. So someone's
Precisely.
going to have it, tougher than you. But I think that's, I think when it comes to that, right, just remember this is a position where he works where not only do you have to have the size, because this is a size position, and then it is a more of a technique position. Yeah, there's generational talents per se. I'll give you a best example. Aaron Donald is not the biggest guy on the field, but if
No,
you go by his talent and his skill set, that's what makes him the best defensive tackle in football. That's
true. That
where
is
that's
very
where I
true.
kind of go with that. But we hope that JJ is well. We hope that surgery goes well, and no matter what happens on the path to JJ, I hope that everything goes well. So, you ready to go into the preview of the next